Tonight on The Breakdown, Damian McKenzie joins us ahead of the Chiefs' must-win game against the Hurricanes. Brad Moore spills on just who will coach the North and South teams. Keen to go and watch the footy this weekend? Your chance to win big with our 2 Degrees Game Changer and ticket giveaways. Plus, a cricket superstar beams in live as our special guest. Don't miss it.
Kia ora, hello and welcome to The Breakdown. Well, it's amazing what can happen in 7 days. If you thought it was just Super Rugby Aotearoa, well, you are so wrong. Bernadine is going to join us very soon to bring us up to date with everything that has happened across the rugby world in the last 7 days. But first, of course, guests, as always, they are here. They keep coming back. Sir John Kerwin, Mills Miliaina. I'm going to ask you, JK, did our Super Rugby favourites from last week, did they get a bit lucky this past weekend, being the Crusaders and Blues?
That really annoys me. You started with me in the pre-match saying that we were lucky to win as Blues. That is wrong.
It's wrong.
Good teams win the tough ones, mate.
Oh, good teams win the tough ones. You're right there. The Highlanders pushed you to the brink, away from home. You were going into a bye. Maybe you'd gone on holiday. Yeah, I know who won. I tell you what, I was going to call you in the post-match show, try and get on your phone.
You've been baiting me all night.
Yeah, and I'm going to bait you for the next hour about so many things. What I will say to you, though, Mills, we were in Christchurch on Sunday. I've given you time to think about it. 48 hours. Do you still believe the Chiefs are not out of this competition?
I still believe they're not. They've got to win this weekend. They've got to win on Sunday, but they're not out, Goldie.
OK, they're not out. Well, that is music to Bernadine's ears. Of course, she is a Chiefs fan through and through, a Chiefs fan.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Leaving you alone because you've got someone who supports, and they were so very close on the weekend. You still believe, I'm sure.
I believe. I totally believe. Don't we, Mills? We accidentally lost again. News just hitting our inboxes tonight. The Sevens Circuit, it's not going to resume due to COVID, so that means both New Zealand teams are the champions for the World Sevens Series. That's the first time that both the men and the women have won since 2014 in the same year, so well done, Kapai. There's been so much talk about getting this match up and going, and it is happening. Saturday, the 29th of August. Look at it in all its glory there. North versus South, live on Sky from 5 p.m. Throw it in your diary because no matter where you live, you'll be invested in this match. North versus South, you're one or the other, or are you? The jury is out to the eligibility criteria. Here's the official line. Selection will depend on which province a player made their first-class debut in. So, Damian McKenzie, the man who rolls his R's, and he's probably dined at the Gore Pie Cart once or twice, he'll be playing for the coffee-cultured quinoa salad-eating North. And there's not just chat about who will play where, but who will coach. Now, Brad Moore, he is on the show later to reveal all, but where do you guys like? Jeff, that's a no-brainer. You're a South man.
Southland.
JK.
No, I want to go back to the salad statement. Like, if I had said something about that, something similar about the South,
we've got Jimmy's
people
pies.
Get really upset.
We've got Jimmy's pies and steak.
What did you call it? Quinoa munching? What? That's like.
Hey, nothing wrong with South Island cheese roll.
South.
There it is.
Mills. Mills.
Hey, I'm going to hibernate for the next 2 weeks up here in Auckland because I'm a Southlander.
Yes, you are. You are. Outstanding. Well, and saying that as well then, if you're talking about eligibility, whether or not it's right going down that path, but also the other thing, JK, is where do we think this game should be played?
Well, I think it should be played in the provinces and it should be shared around. I believe that this can be like the state of origin. I know the state of origin was traditionally in 2 places, but they've started moving it around. I reckon Napier, go down to your hometown, Millsy.
Rugby Park, mate.
Rugby Park.
Southland.
Yeah.
Tasman, places like that, Trafalgar Park. Maybe that's an option. I think there's a big discussion going on. We're going to talk to Damian McKenzie as well about who he thinks he should be playing for.
And ask him if he'd prefer a Jimmy's pie or a quinoa salad, all right? So Brad Moore's going to tell us who's coaching those teams. I'll tell you who may be available to coach. Past the Toffee Pops, King Carlos Spencer, he's leaving his post as assistant coach of the Hurricanes. Now, a statement released by the Canes yesterday said that due to the financial uncertainty created by COVID-19, we've agreed he will finish his contract early. Now, By early, they mean immediately. The 44-year-old played 35 tests for the All Blacks. He joined the Wellington franchise under John Plumtree at the start of 2019 after a stint coaching in Japan. So he, another victim of COVID, or is there more at play here? It just seems pretty sudden, doesn't it?
Oh, that upsets me. I just don't believe it, unfortunately. I just don't think that it's got... OK, COVID has happened, but I don't think you should blame it because I don't think anyone leaves mid-season. So I love Carlos, you know, I think he's an amazing man. But I just don't believe that it's COVID cutting costs when you leave halfway through a season.
It's a bit odd, isn't it, when you think it's, you know, they said, you know, at the end of the competition, and knowing someone like Loss, you know, and he's very tight with the team and things like that and the environment. He's a good coach. And why would he leave so early? And I know he's come out and said he spent more time with the family, so perhaps it's the case.
And he's
just
looking
had 10
forward
weeks
to
with
what's
the family in COVID.
he might be thinking about what he's going to do after this, but I look at the decision he's made here, and he wouldn't have made this decision if he didn't feel as though it might help the team. I think he would consider that and go, you know what, I'm not having the impact here, Bernie, I would like to have, so I think I might be better off giving the other players, the likes of a Corey Jane, who is coaching there, the opportunity. I think he may have considered that.
If it was his decision.
Yes,
it's a big
which is what he said.
But it has impacted other clubs and franchises. So, look, the belts are continuing to tighten right across the board. NZR, with the head coach taking another pay cut. Ian Foster and his management team, they took an initial drop in salary when COVID hit, and they've taken another haircut. Roll on the internationals, please, so normal transmission and perhaps healthy pay packets can resume. Not resuming, talented Crusaders rookie Cullen Grace. He's undergone surgery today for a broken thumb after the defending champs' physical encounter with the Chiefs. The 20-year-old flanker, he was sitting third for most tackles behind Hoskins Tutu and Dalton Papali'i, so he was in great form. Prod D2, have you heard of it? It's a French club with billionaire investors backing them, and word is they want Bodie. JK, you might have to get a meat pack and a sausage sizzle going to try and keep him at the Blues. The good news, though, is that Beauden Barrett is contracted to the Blues and the NZR till the end of 2023, which means the French club, they're in for a bit of a wait. Mitre 10. All systems go from Friday, September the 11th. Now, the draw is out and we're in for 10 weeks of round-robin competition with semis and finals. Now, that's something Super Rugby Aotearoa doesn't have. I reckon we've got a couple of weeks between the North and South game, Mitre 10. Plot twist. I'm ready for it. Chuck in a Super Rugby final. Give the people what they want. Actually, the calendar is looking pretty busy, pretty full. Crazy, isn't it? Not long ago, we thought there'd be no rugby. Now, here's a snapshot of what's ahead for us. As we push into July, look at that. We've got Super Rugby Aotearoa swamped there. You've got the Aussie competition kicking off. Look at August, right through there, up to the North-South game on the 29th. Can't wait for that. Mitre 10 in September. Follow the orange lines. September, October, November. It goes right through to the 28th, the Mitre 10. Look at that. The 25th, that's the NRL Grand Final. So we're going to keep our night free for the Warriors when they appear. It's our year. Also, the big ones here, 10th and the 17th. That's October. We're hoping the Bledisloes, our Trans-Tasman rivals, are going to come down under, hopefully, more under, to New Zealand, to have the matches here. And we've got a match here. A match here. Internationals, where are they going to be? Who with? We don't know, but we hope we're going to get a bit of love in New Zealand. Fingers and toes crossed.
We're talking about a possibility there, proposed Bledisloe Cups. I'm challenging, I look at this, and yes, we're playing through to the end of November, but JK, I look at this and I go, have we got this right? The fact that it's been said that the All Blacks are only going to be available at this stage for the first 3 rounds of the Mitre 10 Cup.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally wrong, and I totally disagree. I think we should cut the Mitre 10 in half. Two divisions. The All Blacks should be available whole of September, a semi-final, a final, or even just a straight-out final. And then I would say there's about 180 planes parked in Alice Springs. I'd send a plane north. I'd get France, Ireland, England COVID tested, send them down here, quarantine for 14 days, then I play a round robin with the Australians in New Zealand for the whole month of October and November.
Well, there's some talk, though, Mills, the fact that we may go on the road. We may go to Australia. We might bring South Africa. They might bring South Africa over, Argentina. When you look at that, they aren't playing in front of crowds yet. I mean, there is so much uncertainty. Would you prefer to see more test matches? If we're only going to get the 2, would you prefer to see more here in New Zealand?
Well, I think that's the most likeliest place because, you know, we haven't got any cases. And so when you take guys overseas when it's not even opening and that sort of cases galore, why wouldn't you? And I think JK JK's right. I think that maybe perhaps the bigger picture. I think if we can get the Australian thing going first, and I love the fact they're thinking about 2 test matches. They've got to win 2 to get that Bledisloe Cup back. But later on this season, make sure they come, obviously quarantine for 2 weeks and get that right, and then play the Bledisloe and then see how we go.
I mean, how important is it to us here in JK, the fact that we are in a position, we've earned the right to have this opportunity for people to come here, like you say. How would you feel about it, though, if a team came here, just like the Warriors did, found a base, and they were isolated in a base but were able to train? Would you be comfortable with that?
Well, yeah, because we're the safest country in the world. Besides Thelma and Louise, who took off, everything else, everyone else is good, right? Everyone else has made the effort and everyone's in quarantine. Our cases are in quarantine. So we're the safest country in the world, and we should actually invite people down here to play a round-robin tournament, COVID test them, put them in quarantine. They can train in quarantine for 2 weeks and then play a great tournament, beam it to the world, sell it to everyone, make some coin.
This is the first time, I think, and maybe the last time Thelma and Louise will ever show up on the breakdown. And next guest, I wonder if he's heard of Thelma and Louise. Damian McKenzie joins the breakdown tonight, and we're going all over the place, but we're going to go back on task. We're going to get focused on what we want to talk about. Damian, thank you so much for joining us. We're talking about the North-South game for a start. I've heard an interview with you talking about you are through and through a Southlander. Would you like the opportunity to play for the South Island?
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's a great concept. It's great for the fans and great for the players. Always been keen to bring back the North for a South game. And yeah, obviously growing up in Southland, that's where my roots are, and then going to school in Christchurch. Yeah, it'd be nice to be eligible for the South Island squad, but obviously first province game for Waikato, so that's obviously the rules and the eligibility. So yeah, look, if I was to play for either team, I'm happy, but yeah, it looks like it's my hand will be up for the North Island team.
Well, Damian, I'd like to bring the public into this, because I think if you were brought up in the South Island, went to school in the South Island, but play in the North, you should have the choice. If you're born in the South Island, play in the South Island, no choice, right? So I'd like to go to the public and ask them, because one thing that we need to do is start asking the fans what they want, right? And if you feel that strongly about it, that's what's great about the North-South concert. It's got to be that sort of passion. And then those Chiefs mates of yours, they're going to want to bash you up when they're out there from the North. That's what it's about, right?
Yeah, like you said, it's great for the fan engagement too, and to get them involved. But to be fair, there's a few of us Chiefs boys who played our school rugby down in the South Island as well. Like Albie, he played down in Christchurch. So it's a great concept regardless of who we get to play for. But yeah, it'd be nice to play down south for the South Island team. But yeah, it's obviously not going to happen.
D-Mac, let's steer away, mate. That's not until August now. Let's talk about the here and now. 3-0. 3-0, mate.
0-3, actually. 0-3.
Okay,
yeah, 0-3.
It's usually the other way around. How's Gaddy feeling?
Yeah, I know Gaddy's good, mate. He's really positive. We're having some really good training weeks. We're training really well, and just at times we probably just need to be a bit more clinical out in the field. And it's not a disaster. We're still making things happen and we're creating opportunities, but like I said, we just got to be a bit more clinical when we get our chances to make the most of them. There's been chances in the last 3 weeks where we could have put more points on the board, but in a competition like this, we pretty clinical and take advantage of the little moments, and some of the wee moments we probably haven't won. So yeah, good opportunity against good Hurricanes this weekend on Sunday. Hopefully a beautiful day in the Tron will be nice, Sunday Arvo, and get the fans out and yeah, hopefully finish our first round on a good note.
Let's talk about where you're at and the fact that you missed the majority of last season, missed the opportunity later on in the year for the All Blacks. In terms of the recovery and I suppose the disappointment of not being able to continue to play through COVID-19, where do you feel you're at in terms of your game, and are you starting to feel more and more confident as this tournament's going on? Yeah,
it's obviously once COVID hit, it's pretty familiar feeling having another break for myself. It's over the last 2 years, it's been quite a bit of time off rugby, but again, it was quite good for my knee and just recovering a bit longer and resting that. So no, I feel really good at the moment, and in games like in the Super Rugby Aotearoa competition, recovery is vital because these games are pretty brutal. Not that I'm making too many tackles at the back, but yeah, it's now I feel like I'm in a good place and enjoying my rugby. Obviously, this time of year it's a bit more wet, so you got to look at ways how, as a fullback, how you can get into the game, especially when the ball's a bit slippery and not quite as dry. So yeah, again, if we're getting like this, and the try will be beautiful. Sun on the back, throw the ball around.
We were talking a few weeks ago about making sure that someone like you gets his hands on the ball. You've been coming into first receiver a lot. I've loved it. It looks like you're really enjoying yourself. Is that part of the game plan, or you're just going, I'm just going to go looking for the ball?
Yeah, it's, I guess, the relationship we've had with Cruds and in the past as well. We sort of worked well together as a 10 and 15 combination. It's good sort of to mix it up, and I guess it hopefully puts teams under a bit more pressure, having to watch sort of two first receivers, and sometimes I might get caught in there a bit too often and need to pull out wide. But yeah, look, it's just part of, I guess, what we do in our game plan is around getting into that first receiver role and trying to create opportunities out wide of others. Again, it's this time of year when it's a bit wetter, the ball's up front a bit more, but I guess it's about high skill set and trying to create opportunities out wide for our wings, our midfielders, who are pretty dangerous when they get the ball.
Mate, you've had 3 weeks now of games. Been a lot of kicking, in those 3 weeks. How have you guys sort of adapted to that in the back three department?
Yeah, there's we have a big emphasis on trying to win that halfway battle and making sure we're playing the right ends of the field. And it's especially with the conditions now and putting the ball on the ground and making teams turn around and play from their own half is important. And a lot of games can be won without the ball in your hands and being really good on defence. So there's a lot more kicking at the moment. It's something we're having to adapt to because we've got a back three who like to attack, and again we've still got our wingers can kick really well. So yeah, for us it's about getting that balance between running and kicking and making sure we're putting our forwards down the right end of the field.
Balance between running and kicking. Well, I'm going to change tack now because late last week there was a discussion, a proposal that maybe a cross-code game could happen between rugby league and rugby union. Any interest? Would you be putting your hand up? Is it a game you want to be a part of? Have you got any history in rugby league?
No history in rugby league at all. I really enjoy watching it. Watch quite a bit of the NRL.
Who's your team?
Yeah, it'd be a pretty interesting concept, interesting game, and depending on how that'd work, if it'd be a hybrid or whatnot. But again, like whether it goes ahead or not, it'd be awesome for fan engagement as well, and just to create a bit of hype around the two codes. But yeah, wait and see what happens there.
Where would you run? Where would you be if you had to play? You had no choice. They've selected you. They've told you you've got to get out there. Where would you be hiding out? Well, I'd be hiding. Where would you be in the thick of the action? Wherever, mate. Similar, I guess, either maybe in the halves or at fullback, and at least in the halves, I think they usually hide them on the edge, so they don't have to do as much tackling. So maybe in the half somewhere. Yeah, I love that. I love it. Hey, mate, thanks very much for joining us tonight on The Breakdown. We're going to keep pushing for this eligibility. I know your dad played for the South Island. You're a Southlander. You need to be wearing the white of the South Island, taking on JK and his mates. Mate, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers, guys. Thanks, mate. What, the Kanoa munchers? The cool, don't take us. No, this is personal. This is what North-South's about. That's what it is about. That's what it's about. What do we call you guys? Huh, see? I had nothing to do with that, John. I'm available for names. It's the perfect way to what is Kanoa? I will say this though. Let's focus. Let's go back onto this fact. You think about Mills, where Damian was. At the end of last year, recovering from a significant knee injury, comes into Super Rugby this year and playing really, really well. I mean, where do you see him right now, given the stocks, what we've got, the talent level we have? I really like how he's starting to get into his game. Well, he is. I mean, he's just growing in confidence, isn't he? Because he's had that time away from it. But what I like about it is what you've mentioned, the fact that he gets into that first receiver role is they're finding their feet a little bit. I know he wants it to be a little bit dry, but the reality is a lot of kicking is because of the weather conditions. So they've got to make really good decisions here. He's got to work well with his back three. But I love the energy that he's bringing to this Chiefs team. Yes, they haven't quite got that. They're not far away. They're not. I mean, they've been right there in a number of the games. And I reckon he's been outstanding. I mean, we really missed him last year. You imagine him coming on late against England,
You know, we missed the type of player this, but he looks like he's enjoying it. He's getting the ball in his hand. And the greatest thing for you Chiefs supporters is they've got 2 points. That 2 points could be gold, Mills, because they get up this weekend, they go to 7, they're within touch. End of the first round, you know? So it's definitely not over. And I think there's been a couple of players that have just let them down with the finishing. Yep. You know, a couple of drop balls at the wrong moments. And that's, you know, he can't say it, but they're close. But there's some young guys without experience at that level. Week after week pressure, man.
They're averaging just one try in their games. I mean, that is not Chiefs rugby for me, Mills. The fact that they're not finding a way to get themselves in position to get over the line.
I think finding their balance. I think, you know, a lot of kicking, you know, how does this look in terms of the new interpretation of the rules, and then all of a sudden, you know, the weather element as well. You know, they're a team that want to open the game up, and you feel you know, they're almost there. But it's the decision making as well. When they've broken the line, a couple of guys have sort of, you know, given that sort of 50-50 ball and spilt it, and then you lose momentum. And so I think that's what's really hindering their game at the moment. But they're close.
Well, you've got a decision to make at home. Throughout Super Rugby Aotearoa, we're bringing you the 2 Degrees Game Changer. Each week, we will show you 2 key moments from the weekend. You can win 12 months of 2 Degrees mobile and broadband, a Samsung phone, plus a field replica Super Rugby jersey from your favourite team. Let's have a look at the 2 Degrees Game Changers from the weekend.
Crusaders, and Jordan's off for the corner.
There's a time to address the referee, and that wasn't it. They were just caught not being ready, the Chiefs, and that is paying the price, the ultimate price.
Now the search for the line. Is this it here? Players up in the air. Ball's being held up off the ground. Referee calls ball. Desperately trying to free it behind it as they can't do it.
Hoskins, Satutu, absolutely brilliant.
Well, head to facebook.com/2 Degrees to vote. We will name the winner in the build-up to the Crusaders-Highlanders match. That is on Saturday down in Dunedin. Bernie, that is not the only thing we are giving away on the breakdown tonight.
No, we're giving away quinoa. This is coming from the king of the latte squad. I can't believe you did quinoa salad, JK. How good have the games been? 14 points, the biggest margin between them. If you're a Blues fan, get online, grab tickets through Ticketmaster. Chiefs tickets can be purchased through Ticket Rocket, and head to Ticketek for your passes to the Canes, Crusaders and Highlanders matches. If you're a bit tight and fancy your chances of winning a double pass for you and a mate, email us here at thebreakdown.co.nz, and you and a mate could be off to the big Southern Derby, Crusaders versus the Landers, or watch the Chiefs beat the Canes this weekend. Just email us. Now, you may have checked out our regular chats on Sky's The Pod, where we catch up with our sporting elite, past and present. Well, tomorrow night, I spend an hour with Jane Watson, the Silver Fern. Her story is just mind-blowing, suffering more trauma in her young life than most, and she gives us the inside word on what Dame Noeline Taurua is really like.
Yeah, she's I just love the way she's, I guess, very open, very honest, and you know where you stand with her. She's not going to say anything if she doesn't want to say anything. She's not going to have a meeting for the sake of it. Yeah, she just doesn't muck around, to be honest. She's very straight to the point, which I love. She's not only that, but I guess she's caring. She actually wants to know how you are. She wants to know how your family are, what's happening at home, and actually care for your well-being as well as your netball. So yeah, definitely a massive person, that's for sure.
Welcome back to The Breakdown. Yes, the All Blacks in 2020 have a new coaching staff, and one of those, assistant coach Brad Mooar. He's just been back in the country a few weeks now. He spent a couple of those, Brad, in quarantine. How did you go, and were you tested, first and foremost?
Evening, gents. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for the opportunity. Yep, we were tested. Tested on day 12 and tested negative. So so it was lovely to get through day 13 and 14 and ultimately get out and get on a plane back to Christchurch. So that ended more or less 3 months of what was really level 4 lockdown for us, having been in Wales and then back in quarantine in Auckland.
How was it? I mean, how was quarantine for you?
Mate, well, you deal with the facts, don't you? And then they looked after us really well at the Holiday Inn, did a great job, and treated us well, but and fairly, and with the responsibility of what quarantine is about. So that was really good. We travelled back with Hadley and Susie Parks and their baby Ruby. So we managed to we elected to be a joint bubble so we could help them out with young Ruby, and it also helped with our kids as well and kept them occupied. So it was lovely to have their company and share that experience with them.
Brad, it's great to have you back in the country, but I want to go back to Wales. You're over there, your time with the Scarlets, you've got the phone call. I mean, how did you feel? Did you put your lawyer's hat on and think, geez, I want to have to try and get out of this contract?
Well, mate, it was obviously going really well in Wales, and we're really happy and enjoying the role, and had great people around us, and look, the club, the Scarlets, just outstanding, real community club, and there's Munster. Oh, there we go. Yep, it's an interesting day that we finished with new. There's a better highlight than that, surely. That one looked up there either. But look, with some of the great people that were around me and part of the team, and it was magnificent. And then you know, Fozzie made his phone call, and our world took a significant change. That you know, I said, mate, I think you've got the wrong number, Foz. Let's take a breath and have a think about that, and then carry on the conversation and work through that. And then really just sort of had to weigh everything up. And look, it was one of those situations where there's no negative on either side of the ledger. It was both positive, and well, in fact, the only negative was the opportunity cost of the other decision. And you know, it was times to be really very empathetic and integrity driven with the conversations, and I'm really grateful for the support that the Scarlets gave me within the team, the staff, the board, the GM, and the community and supporters as well to follow this opportunity and join the All Blacks, which is just incredible and humbling and still feels very surreal.
Brad, you've come home, and just recently in the last few days we've heard that a North-South game has been scheduled to be played on the 29th of August. So you can tell us tonight, for the first time on The Breakdown, who is going to be coaching these two sides?
Yes, I can. I'm very pleased to be able to tell you that the coaches of the North will be John Plumtree and Scotty Stormy McLeod, and the South will be Greg Feek and myself. So it's very, very exciting, and we can't wait to get into that game and the preparation in due course. So, goodness me, what a lovely graphic.
Brad, JK here, mate. Hard luck about getting the South. I suppose life can't always be perfect, mate, but just one thing from the public. I know that it's great that the All Black coaches are going to be coaching it, but it's important that it doesn't turn into an All Black trial. I hope you're not looking at it like that. I hope you're looking at it as a real big event. North versus South. I've already been called a Kanoa mantra or whatever it is. I mean, we need to create that. We need to create that atmosphere. So, you know, what are you thinking about it as an event?
Well, it's a real legacy game, isn't it? You know, first played in 1897, and then almost consistently every year, apart from the war years until 1986 in Oamaru. I think we can see in that game, Steve Hansen was on the bench for the South, and Brendon McKenzie was at the back, Damian's father. David Kirk coaching the North. It's a legacy game that gives a real attachment and a proper team and mindset to the game, a team mindset and representing your island. And I think that's really, really important. if it was to be an All Black trial, it would be called an All Black trial, and I'm sure sides would end up being selected differently. So to have a actual game and a mindset that we can get into and prepare teams with, I think is really important, and obviously that's something that's really driven Fozzie and the rest of the management as well with this. So awesome opportunity for coaches as a new group to get on the grass and coach together in a couple of combinations and actually get that sort of experience together and bounce and prepare a team. We're really excited about this South versus North game and think
North versus South, Brad. South versus North. Where did that come from? It's on, mate. North versus South.
It's going to be on.
Started.
I mean, I'll say this to you though, Brad. I mean, we just had Damian McKenzie on, who's through and through a Southlander. I mean, that's where he's born. Like you say, you just mentioned his dad. How hard was it, sort of, when you get to this criteria, which sort of stops people playing from when they are born and bred from?
Yeah, look, I think that whatever criteria you look at, there's going to be pros and cons and variables within it. I know that there's a significant, it seems to be, whether it's a vocal minority or whatever, but there's a bit of a noise around high schools and things like that. And I think that, they're all valid questions. The only issue with that is what sort of high school would it be? Even looking at your panel there, you've got Jeff Cargill High and John De La Salle and Mills has had a bit of both, Cargill, Southland boys and also Kelston.
He moved around. That's what you're saying, right?
I love this country, mate.
that's just an observation, not a judgment at all. And these happen, and that becomes an imperfect situation to try and work through. Now, by making it the province that you first played for, then that's a decision that the player makes for his future as to where he wants to kickstart his professional and provincial and ultimately career-driven game. Where we go to school is sometimes choice of our parents, isn't it? So this is actually comes back to the decision of the player. It attaches them to their first province. And look, should this game be continued in the future, then that will be the team that they play for, as opposed to what province are they playing for now, which was I think was the criteria used in the past. So you saw the likes of David Kirk playing for South Island, no doubt, when he was studying at Dunedin and then captaining the North in that last game that I mentioned in 1986. Other than the couple of games that have been played since then ad hoc.
Yeah, no, I disagree. Totally disagree, Brad. I reckon we've got to give, for the first year, we've got to give the players the choice, and then after that, they should declare, I'm a Northlander. I'm a North Islander. So I'll have to, I don't know, I'll have to get a vote going or something.
Yeah, he'll start some sort of movement. That's what JK tends to do, and does it very well, though, so look out, you're in danger. But, I mean, for you, this return home, this opportunity you talked about, you sit here and you look at the talent that is around, and, of course, this is a new era for the All Blacks. How hopeful are you that we're going to get those proposed games we are seeing in October and November so you can get your hands on that All Black group?
Oh, look, just magnificent that would be. I think what we've seen in the last couple of weeks, last 3 weeks of the Super Rugby Aotearoa, we've also seen netball back on the screens and on the courts. And that's the professional game, but how important has it been to see our community sport come back on? People taking kids to their Saturday morning sport. We're on the sidelines, it's flat whites and woolly hats and all sorts going on, and it's just superb for our country to be able to be doing that. Now, that's then uber important that we continue on with things and are able to get test matches running after an outstanding series of Super Rugby Aotearoa. And I think we've been spoilt in the last 3 weeks with that, and the world is looking on and with great envy. So for us, it'll be great to be on the grass and preparing an All Black side for Bledisloe Cups, and I mean that just has a magnificent sound to it. Like I said, it still sounds so surreal, but that'll be magnificent to come in at the back end of the year.
Brad, welcome home. It's always great to chat with you because you give great long answers, which makes my job so much easier. But there's always a smile on your face. You love what you do. I know you're going to have a positive influence on any environment you're involved. First and foremost, though, it's going to be that South Island, mate. You've coached Southland, you've played in the South Island. You bring it home. Good luck, mate.
Thanks, Jeff. We look forward to seeing you around the camp, mate.
He's got himself game on.
He's got himself the team kit. He's got himself the free kit already.
I'm on tour for that week, August 29th.
In the baggage, man.
Might be in, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that's obviously, it's going to be live on Sky Sport 1. I think really important, though, for me, and coming back to what you're talking about, what he says logically, you know, they've obviously thought this through, deeply thought it through for me, JK. They've spoken to a number of people, looked at different scenarios. What this is going to lead to, though, is two extremely strong sides going head-to-head, and people are going to want to watch it.
You know, great. I mean, I'm so excited about it. I think it's going to be a great event that's going to go forward in history. I also agree with Brad, like, someone's got to make a decision. What he spoke about was great. I was really pleased that he talked about the passion and looked up the history. So it's going to be great. I would like, just for this first year, though, for them to come out and make an exception and say, OK, just for this year, and then next year, what I'd like to see, Mills, is that we're creating something where you get asked.
Yeah.
Even after your first Super game, who you're for, North or South?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably more for something later on.
Yep.
I think they've got it right now and saying, well, this is the criteria now. Let's be open to it next year and have that discussion. And what does that look like where you come out and say straight away we are actually going for it. But I love it. I love this. I hope it sort of grows and it's going to be a massive game.
Yeah, it's going to be massive. And I think the interest is probably in some ways you would get a gauge and get a drive of where this game is going to be played. Now, if you play it at Eden Park, do you believe you'll get 45,000 people, JK, to come and watch these two teams?
Talking North Island, of course we would. What are you talking about? You play it in the north, Eden Park, we'll fill it.
You'll fill it? Well, I think we could fill it anywhere, though. Is this the opportunity to go elsewhere? I mean, the one thing about Dunedin, the South Island,
there it
of course,
is.
There it is. It's under a roof, guaranteed conditions, Mills. The fact you would get 25, 26, 27,000, but it'd be hard and fast.
Or you could go somewhere like Nelson, right in the middle, Wellington. Or why don't we make it two? Why don't we make it one in the North Island, one in the South Island? That's perhaps a discussion they need to have for next year.
Well, someone I know who is definitely available for selection, I'm not sure whether or not he wants to play, is Brendon McCullum. He's back on the rugby field. There he is. B-Mac. Now, I saw some of your training regimes, mate, through the lockdown. You were putting them online. Was this all in preparation for your return to the rugby field or what?
Evening, lads. Well, you saw the ones I put on, which were of me exercising. You didn't see the other ones. I was having a little game of snakes and ladders, boys. So it was a little bit of extracurricular activities as well. But yeah, it's nice to be back. It's nice to be back playing a bit of rugby.
Was there a dust up, mate, and were you involved? Bit of club footy, local club footy. There was a.
JK, yeah, there was a dust up actually, but I was far away from that, mate. I sort of left the boys to it. But no, it was a pretty physical game. I only got on for the last 30-odd minutes, but I really enjoyed it, actually. It was driving rain, so sort of slightly different game than I used to like to play, which was sort of get rid of the ball pretty quickly. But, yeah, it was a little bit of contact and a bit of a shock to the system, but it was nice to be back.
Why? Why would you want to be back? Do you just want to get a shoulder on and things like that? Are you missing? Have you got some frustration you need to get out? Why not just go and play social cricket, mate? You don't get any contact.
This wasn't a dare from Marshall, was it? This wasn't Marshy getting in your ear, was it?
Oh, funny you say that, actually. Marshy came and had a game for us last year as well. We both strapped them on together, so that was good crack as well. But no, like it's in our DNA, isn't it? It's what we're born to do as Kiwis. Is you're born to be wanting to be an All Black and just wanting to play rugby. And that, I was lucky enough to have a cricket career, but I always sort of said that at some stage I'd love to be able to get back and have a few games of footy. It's not quite what it used to be like, but yeah, it's nice to be out there and really cool bunch of guys, especially in a small town like Matamata, to be able to contribute to the community. Rugby's such a big part of this town as well, and to be able to strap on the boots for the local side. UMS has been great fun, and hopefully we can continue to do what we did in the weekend, which was win some tight ones, boys.
OK, so is your intent on the rugby field the same as your intent when you played cricket? Because we know how aggressive you were as a captain and as a player. Is that the way you like to play the code?
I can't really remember, Goldie. I'm sort of like I'm out there and just trying to remember exactly what it sort of takes to play this game. And, like cricket, you sort of go on autopilot a little bit. With footy, I'm just trying to remember everything. Luckily, I've got all the other boys out there who give me a hand. But, I certainly like to try and, what's the word? I like to free-flowing footy. No kicking really allowed when you're coming into the UMS side. They like to see the ball in hand, and I think that probably suits my personality.
We've been talking about the hybrid league game and that scenario. Where would you see that, and where would your position if you did play that?
Oh, geez, I don't know about that, Mills. I think I'd quite like to see it, actually. I saw you had Brad on before. I caught up with Brad last week in Christchurch, actually. Top fella doing wonderful things in the game, and we were both watching a game of school footy down there, so that was good as well. But there's only really one place I can play. I think that's first five. There's enough people being able to slide on defence for me, and enough people to be able to offload too if I get myself stuck. So that would be the only place, Mills.
Mills was wondering what you're weighing in at the moment. Could you make the under 85s? Is that a possibility? We're talking about national competitions next year. Knockouts. I mean, is that something that maybe you think long term? Is this a short term fix, or do you just want to keep playing as long as you can keep playing?
Yeah, it's a fluctuating weight, Goldie. It's sort of depending on how the week...
It's exactly what Marshy says as well.
Well, we're both brewing a bit of beer together as well, so it's it's kind of, you work hard during the week and you give it all back during the weekends. But I guess that's also, I said rugby's born into our DNA. I'd probably say that is also.
Brendan, I know that you'll be supporting the North in the North versus South, obviously. That's just a given. That's just a given, isn't it, mate? So I'll just move on to the next... No? You're shaking your head.
What are you on about? He's a Otago through and through. What are you...
He just played for Matamata, mate. They're the rules. He's in. He's North Islander. If those go by the rules. So seriously...
I might live in the Waikato, but I'm born and bred Dunedin. Mate. Staunch Highlanders man.
Yeah.
The other question I've got...
I thought they were a bit stiff in the weekend too.
The other...
You're doing right.
The other question I've got for you, mate, incredible leader... in another code, real big competitor. When you go out there on a Saturday in Matamata for your club, is that hard to suppress, or you're just enjoying it for the love of the game?
Well, that's a really good question, actually, because I found myself even at training tonight, you're sort of wanting to, your natural tendency, being a competitive sportsman and also, I guess, as a leader, is naturally you want to talk and you want to verbalise some of the stuff, which whilst you may not be on the mark from a strategic point of view, there's still things which you sort of kind of help from a collective point of view that you might be able to try and wrap up. So I've sort of found myself suppressing that at the moment until I've probably earned my stripes a little bit within the setup. But I think, the more I played, the more I'd probably like to, and the more I get a bit more confident in my own abilities again after being away from the game for so long, then I'm sure some of those leadership qualities will hopefully come out, even if they're not necessarily tactics.
That means we'll have more footage of you then on the breakdown, which is outstanding. We're looking forward to it. We need cameras. If you're going to watch Brendon McCullum play, please get your phone out. We want to see the evidence, what he can absolutely do. Hey, mate, thanks very much for joining us. It's great you're having that impact, getting involved out there and playing with your mates. And look, anytime you and Marshy can get out there and celebrate the game together, you make sure you do it, because you do it so well. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, boys. Good luck. Cheers.
Oh, great, fantastic. Being involved in club footy, a lot of All Blacks playing on the weekend. We know Ben Smith down in Green Island as well in Dunedin. Well, of course, don't forget, we've got tickets to give away this weekend. Email us at thebreakdown@sky.co.nz. Of course, the great clash going down in Dunedin. It's the Crusaders and the Highlanders. And for Will Jordan, it's been a fantastic start to his Super Rugby Aotearoa campaign. Let's hear how his journey so far in professional rugby's been.
I guess off the back of leaving school, making Canterbury 19s and then New Zealand 20s was probably my first taste of that sort of rep or next level rugby year. I think I had a pretty big growth spurt in about towards the end of year 12, which sort of meant I was playing halfback at school until that.
Jordan is under the post.
guess, gained a little bit of speed as well, and I guess, yeah, that was probably the catalyst for the improvement, mainly.
Being a halfback back in the day, does it help you with your distribution when you make a break and you've got your wingers waiting for the ball?
Yeah, you'd like to think so. Unfortunately, my wingers are pretty quick to remind me of some bad passes I've thrown to them over the years. So
is it Severu or George who cops the bad ones?
George, unfortunately, yeah. No, he's pretty quick to remind me if he gets one around his ankles or up around his head, yeah.
Welcome back to the breakdown. Time for the spotlight. Last week, last Tuesday, we talked about number 8s. We're talking about the left wing. Why are we talking about the left wing? Well, I think it's specific to skill set you want to play on that side. JK, do you agree, disagree? Or is it the balance across both wings?
Well, I don't know what you're getting at. So what are you trying to say? That the left wing should be the fast guy and the right winger? I don't think it should be wing prejudice. I like a balance of two types of wingers, if that's what you're trying to say. But the guy on the left wing
you're trying to confuse me
because the players could pass better from right to left.
That's not the case anymore. Everyone can pass both ways, Mills. Yeah. But you look at what we've had traditionally on the left wing. Let's go right back. Inga Tuigamala played on the left with you. We've obviously in recent times had Julian Sevilla, John Alomu. We're talking big units, guys that powerful runners. Is that the balance? Why is it the left wing that carries like that?
I'm unsure why that's happened. Perhaps it's been on the back end of that, and then all of a sudden guys have had that preference of having the number 11 jersey. Obviously, it was Jonas for a very long time, but I think the wingers have got to have the same skill set, surely, don't they, these days?
Well, I think what's happened in the last few years under the last regime was there was these players that could play all positions, Mills. You know, you're probably the first one, centre, fullback, but now when you look at that group of young players, you know, 2 of them are possibly centres, the others are specialists. You know, I can see Caleb and obviously Rico as centres, maybe playing on the wing to get their experience, but the other guys I see as definite specialists.
Oh, I mean, you've got a lot to say about Nanai Saturo as well for the Chiefs. What is it you like about him? Not as big as your Ben Lambs and your Caleb Clarks. Remembering Ben Lamb had a fantastic season. What do you like about this young man?
I love his explosiveness. He's got a nice skill set as well. You've got to remember, he's very, very young. He's been in the Sevens environment for a wee while, but I also like his work rate, and you know, like all these other guys as well, he's a very powerful man. And so when you're playing on the wing, you just got caught there by Cody Taylor, which is a fantastic effort, but his work rate, his explosiveness and his decision making.
So we had George Bridge last year, of course, had a breakout season for the Crusaders. Didn't play a lot in the first half of the year, but then came into his own, JK. So you start talking about what we had on the screen there, your Caleb Clarks, Nanai Saturo. How do you see this in terms of form of players, and at the moment, who's the front running for you pulling on an All Black jersey?
Oh, well, I'd put the guy on the far right in this 13 jersey of the All Blacks. They take him out of the wing spot. I think that Caleb is having an amazing time. I need to know if Ben's contract's still valid overseas, because I thought he played well after being All Black. But I think I wouldn't pick both of the other two at the moment, because I'm going down your pathway where I like something big and strong on one wing and then fast on the other.
But I see Rieko Ioane playing with the sort of confidence we saw him in his prime when he was on the wing for the All Blacks. You transfer that back to the wing, and we've got plenty of depth in the midfield. You guys, you know, and yes, we've lost Ryan Crotty, but we've got players who can play there. I look at Rieko at the moment, and for me, given all his experience, given his confidence levels, I think you'd see a different player than you saw in 2019, Mills.
No, I think you leave him at centre. I think what he's done now, he's just starting to establish himself. I kind of disagree with you. I think you put him out in the wing, it's a way different lines. You're roaming all of a sudden. You're not sort of looking for different opportunities when you've sort of, you've broken the line, and even defensively, because you've always got to be on song. You're not sort of covering out the back and trying to connect. So centre for me, I think he stays there.
I'd say this to you, JK, the fact that we talked about Hoskins Sotutu not being the finished product, but showing enough. Is Caleb Clark in that same boat with the fact, you know what, the impact he's having, the form he is in, yes, he's not the complete player, but reality is the things he can offer and the impact he has on the game, is he a guy you go, you know what, we start him young?
Well, I think wins the next World Cup. So I reckon the guys like him that are showing enough form, you get them into the environment and you play them. Obviously, they're going to play for the North Island, which is a bonus for everyone. And I'm going to suggest also that the North Island wear those gridiron tights as an added excess to clothing. So for me, get these young guys into the All Black environment as quick as you can. You've got 3 years to the next World Cup, and who knows if it might get put out a year. Bring it on, Mills.
Bring it on, Bernie. Bring it on and run us through. This has been some banter tonight, and you started it. It was all your fault.
Don't eat anything you can't spell or pronounce.
Tapping out at the Lycra Pants. Round 4, here we come. Super Rugby Aotearoa heads to Dunedin on Saturday for a highly anticipated Southern Derby. Always a good time when the Crusaders and the Highlanders hook up. Coverage from 6:30 here on Sky. Then the Chiefs, we've been saying it the last couple of weeks, but they have to crack this one. They host the Canes on Sunday. Tune in from 3 p.m, Sky Sport 1. And if you haven't got tickets yet, let us sort that for you. A double pass for you and a mate to the games this weekend. Email us here at thebreakdown.co.nz. Easy as.
Not if you're a Hurricanes fan. You don't want the Chiefs having a win. And we shouldn't forget, they're a good side. They're a team that themselves will be looking for a win. Do anyone see an upset, or who do we see this weekend, team?
Well, I mean...
You could go Chiefs.
Shock me, JK.
I don't know if I should say this, but a coach leaving halfway through the season doesn't say that it's a happy camp. The Chiefs have 2 points, which is way more than 0. And so I think that the Chiefs, you know, it's not over yet, and I think the Chiefs still have a chance to get back into the running. I think the Hurricanes are under the pump, but I think it's going to be a great game.
I think the Chiefs win. And if the Hurricanes do lose, I mean, what's that, their third loss? So they're certainly not out. Down in Dunedin... It's hard to not go past the Crusaders.
Oh,
look at the flight of the Highlanders. Look at them, so
Crusaders.
Crusaders and the Chiefs, because they won't want another spray from Gats.
The Highlanders almost went into Auckland and won.
Almost.
Almost, I know. We'll see you. We'll see you next week. We'll see you next week.
It's been a tough start for us. You know, it's pleasing that we're making improvements, but at the same time, it doesn't take away from the disappointment of not getting what we came for.
Thank you to everyone who came out here to support us. I know it's not the result you guys wanted.
I feel the pages turning.
We'll build and we'll keep going forward.
I see the
We'll stick tight.
Even though they've lost 3 in a row, you get the feeling that they still could be a factor in this competition.